John O'Naylor.
Speaker, I'd like to start my contribution by quoting a piece of work on this topic done by a guy by the name of George Benson, who said, "I believe the children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride," etc. But no, in all seriousness, Mr. Speaker, this piece of bill is about children. It's fundamentally about them. And before I go any further, Mr. Speaker, I want to just ensure that the wonderful workforce that we have working on the front lines of child, youth and family across New Zealand, who are doing the best they can day in, day out, trying to do the best they can with the tools that they've got, are recognised. Because when we change legislation, it's very easy to poke the borax at individual people and the work that they're doing. But, Mr. Speaker, we have got some good people out there who are working hard, and I just want to acknowledge the work that they are doing. I also want to acknowledge, Mr. Speaker, Minister Anne Tolley, who since taking on this portfolio has worked tirelessly looking at the outcomes that we are achieving through our care and protection legislation, and recognising, as has been outlined by a number of the speakers already, that the statistics and the outcomes for our young people in care by and large are simply not acceptable. We aren't helping them to achieve what they should be achieving, and so we need to take a long, hard look. The 14-odd reviews that have been done since the Children and Young Persons Act was first passed in 1989, another review was not going to cut it. And so the Minister has taken the bull by the horns, has actually really gone to some great lengths to put in place something that will be lasting and hopefully something that will actually be enduring and ensure that we get good outcomes. Can I acknowledge two other groups of people as well, the expert panel who have put together, I think, a really comprehensive report outlining some of the issues that we have in our current care and protection arrangements, but also outlining some ways forward that we might be able to do better. And also the panel of young people who helped contribute to what's been going on. I think it's been incredibly brave of them to tell their own stories. And again, as other speakers have said this evening, sitting on the Select Committee and hearing from some of those young people from the Dingwall Trust was incredibly moving, and I think just strengthened our resolve to make sure that we do better for young people who are at risk in New Zealand and those who require the care of the state. Now, the original 1989 Act did have a clause in it that talked about the paramountcy of the child's needs, but, Mr. Speaker, it appears that somewhere along the line that importance of that has been somewhat lost. We were heralded throughout the world, to be honest, on our Act in 1989. The introduction of family group conferences had the global social work field really talking about this innovative new way that New Zealanders were working with children and families at risk. But we need to make sure that we don't sit on our laurels, and actually we've discovered now that that system isn't necessarily delivering all that it could. And so this legislation, Mr. Speaker, goes further than simply saying having a paramountcy principle within the Act, but actually ensures that young people will have a voice, not just in their own outcomes, but will have a voice in the actual guiding principles and legislation and policies that will oversee and their lives and the type of interventions that will take place. Mr. Speaker, we've also talked about the importance of shifting the age upwards, and again, I just want to reiterate the importance of us lifting this age. To be a 17-year-old and suddenly being faced with having to renegotiate your own board arrangements or otherwise simply is not good enough, and this is a step in the right direction. And I think over time we'll be able to explore how those transitions actually occur as well when children reach the age of 18, if they've been in care, as to how they transition into adult life. Mr. Speaker, it's what most of us as parents would do for our own children, and I think it's beholden on the state to make sure that we do at least as good a job as regular parents would like to do for their own children. Mr. Speaker, I'm encouraged by the support that this bill is receiving from right around the House. I think we're going to have a really robust time in the Select Committee looking over the finer points of it. And I hope, Mr. Speaker, that you know, we'll get some good support as we seek to bring this through, but that we'll actually get some good comment from submitters. There are a lot of people out there who have had interactions with child, youth and family over the years who perhaps haven't had an ideal experience, who will be able to offer us some further insights into how we can improve. But, Mr. Speaker, as I said at the beginning of this contribution, children are our future. Children do need our support, and we need to continue to do everything that we can as the legislators of this country, as those people who provide the rules and the regulations about how we intervene when things are not going well for children, to do the very best that we can. And, Mr. Speaker, I see this bill as a very positive step forward for those children and for our country. Thank you.